Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Sunday morning, the 5th of December. The Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. And the phone number there is 631-756-1125 for the best prices in town on rock salt, the best prices anywhere in the New York City tri-state area and beyond. And they've got plenty of rock salt, plenty of pellet-o, plenty of mag ice pellets and flakes, and plenty of everything else that you might need to get you through this winter. 631-756-1125, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. So here we are, Mr. Rayo, on this Sunday morning. I have to ask you.
Yeah.
I have to ask you. You're making your second passage through the Drake Passage, and I was thinking about this yesterday before I read your post, and I thought, he said it wasn't that bad going through. Maybe it would have been fun to be part of this, and take the boat ride and all the rest of it. And then I read about what you went through yesterday and the onion soup, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that.
Let me tell you something. That onion soup, I've had onion soup many times before. That soup I had yesterday for lunch was the best onion soup I've ever had. And I went back for seconds. And see, the thing is that yesterday into last evening, it was so rough out there that every time we hit a very heavy wave or swell, the whole ship would shake. I mean, I've never experienced a Richter 6 earthquake before, but that probably was what it is like. So here I am with my soup, and all of a sudden we hit one of these giant waves. The whole ship shakes. I almost fell on the floor. Some of the soup landed on my shirt. And I'm right next to me is this woman waiting online for the soup. And I turned to her and I said, "Excuse me, madame, it appears that the soup is on me today."
Oh, lovely.
Oh dear.
Did she get it?
But it's been interesting.
She didn't get the joke. Did she get the joke?
I'm not sure. It depends. Well, it depends on whether she's French or whether or not she's English.
Or whether she has a sense of humor.
Well, she had a mask on, so I can't see whether or not she smiled or not. We're very, very stringent about masks here. In fact, we just heard this morning that there was a Norwegian cruise line that returned from Brazil and other places in South America. 3,000 people on that cruise, and 10 people have been tested and have been found to have COVID. But they've been doing a lot of testing and also, very strict on masks here. So, and we don't have 3,000 people on this ship, Joe. How many people do you think there are total?
Well, there was supposed to be around 200, but they wound up with 158.
Okay.
So because a lot of people either they dropped out in the last minute. I heard that there were some flights that were delayed. I heard also, of course, we had the experience too ourselves that the difficulty of what the Chilean government makes you go through to get into this country with all the passes and information that they want. And some people didn't perhaps understand that not only did you need the mobility pass, but you needed the special vaccination pass. And you had to complete the final steps for it within, I think, 24 to 48 hours for that to get into the country. So you needed an awful lot of stuff. And plus you needed insurance.
Right.
They want to make sure that you had to pay insurance. You want to make sure that if you do get sick, that you don't become their responsibility. You are covered by insurance. So, which is a good thing. That's fine, But anyway, so it was tough going through all the steps and procedures to get here. And everyone was of course tested before they left home within 72 hours of boarding the plane. And when we got to the airport, we were tested again. Well, before we got onto the ship, we were tested again. And every 5 days we have to be tested. So we were tested everyone on the ship was tested this morning. They're doing everything in their power to make sure that nobody gets sick or spreads anything around, or they catch it in time and so forth.
By the way, what happens now? Now you're going to be you're on your way back.
No.
No. I know what I mean. In general, you have this next leg of your trip. You're going to Antarctica. Then you're going to be headed back to Santiago, Chile. Da da da. But my question is, and I'm not, God forbid you wind up. What happens if you wind up testing positive? And I mean, are they going to let you out of the country?
Well, what happens is if you test positive on the ship, that you immediately go into quarantine.
Okay.
And that's that. And we get tested, and by the way, in another 5 days, and we'll get tested on the ship within 24 hours of us boarding the plane home. Now, if you get, let's say that last test, somebody should happen to test positive, then they have to quarantine in a hotel somewhere. And the Chilean government then gets involved, and they make sure that you quarantine, and then they test you, I guess, so that you can eventually leave the country.
On your dime, right? On your dime.
No, that's what the insurance is for.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. God, it's, you know what? It's gonna become so ridiculously complicated to travel anywhere. It's such a.
That's simply why, we're college grads, and we know how to work the computer most of the time.
Right.
And we had difficulty, with filling everything out and going through the hoops and so forth.
For some reason, Joe, they are asking, the Chilean government is having us tell them on a daily basis what is happening here, and that they have
a run through of questions. They want to know if you have any of the symptoms,
right?
And you're supposed to put that online. Now, what happens if a lot of these folks are older? They don't necessarily have cell phones, or if they do, they don't know how to put an app on a phone or pick up the internet or something like that, or even know how to work a computer or something.
No, I hear you.
God bless those old folks.
And for whatever reason, Joe, my daily questionnaire is in Spanish, and hers is in English. But you can change it over to English, or flip it over to English. But I mean, it's so arcane. The whole just to get here. I spoke with one woman the other day, one of the passengers, about the Chile asking for a daily update as to your condition. And she said, I've told them everything I need to tell them, including the state of my firstborn child. They know everything about me. They don't. And she said, I'm not going to give them any more. I'm tired of it. And it can really wear you down. I mean, it's so much different. And of course, it's probably due to COVID, but it's so much different than when we last came to this part of the world, not Antarctica, but we went to Chile in 1986 for Halley's Comet. And then it was just like boom, 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 boom. We were in, and that was that. But with this, they have put up almost like a wall. It almost seems like they don't want you to come. They're trying to trap you into, oh, you did not do this.
Right.
We cannot let you in. But we're here. We're on the ship. We've been bouncing up and down. We had winds last night, Joe, approaching 60 knots. Oh. Can you imagine being on a ship at sea at 60 knots?
I cannot. I don't want to imagine it. All right, so we haven't talked since I think Thursday was the last time we were on. So the eclipse, you had said that Climo down there, 90% of the time it's overcast, and well, Climo played according to plan.
Let me tell you something, though. let me tell you something. For the first on Thursday and Friday, we had brilliantly sunny skies. In fact, I posted on my
Oh, I
Facebook
know,
page a
and that
picture of
must
my
have made you,
sailboat.
and that must have at least make you hopeful that you'd have a decent shot
We
of viewing
knew
the eclipse.
we knew that right. Well, we knew that there was a cloud system approaching from the west for Saturday morning, and so we discussed this with the captain, a great captain, Captain Garcia, and he said, "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go. We're not going to stay on the center of the eclipse track. We're going to go a bit to the east, and then we're going to start moving south, because it was felt that most of the system would pass off to the west and north of us, could avoid the cloud cover. But then on Friday night, we were in the clouds and looking at the satellite picture, the satellite loops, we noticed that there was some thin spots here and a break or two there. So we made the decision to actually turn around and go into the cloud mass in hopes that we would be able to get into an area where we'd hit a few breaks. However, as the air cooled in the after midnight hours, we noticed that the clouds actually got thicker and the ceiling got lower. And by the time we got out at 3 o'clock in the morning on Saturday to watch what we could of the eclipse, we had a solid overcast. And the overcast was measured at about 500 meters, or about 1,500 feet above our heads.
Right.
So it was solid. There was no holes. It was like you took, if you were spreading the cloud cover across the sky with a butter knife, everything was homogeneous. I mean, you looked in all directions, and it was just flat gray everywhere that you looked. So this was the first time in 13 times that I've chased one of these things down, solar eclipse. This is the first time that I didn't see anything of the sun from the very start to the very end. And as we got to the point where we were approaching total, it was very much like somebody who began turning down a rheostat or a dimmer switch. You saw that the light was beginning to fall. It fell very rapidly in the final 30 seconds before totality. Then it dropped off, it got dark. We sat there in darkness for about 97 seconds. And then, as soon as the totality phase was over and the shadow began to move off, the darkness began to lift. It got bright rather quickly. I think it got bright quicker than it did getting dark going into totality, but it very quickly got light. And Joe, you never saw, here we are, the entire ship for the most part, on the heliport, which was right at the front of the ship at the stern. The captain had aimed the ship toward the sun. And so there we were out there, all of us, waiting and watching for totality, in temperatures that were right around freezing, but the wind chill made it feel like probably was like 20 degrees. Thankfully, they set up a little thing just inside where they had, cake, cookies, hot chocolate, and the hot chocolate was delicious. But within 2 minutes after the totality had ended, everybody pretty much scurried inside and headed back to their cabins, because what more was there to see? I mean, it was just the
Right.
still cloudy, dreary sky that we had. So, I mean, we did experience it. We did see the darkness come. It came through. It left, and after that, it was local time here. It was about 4:15, 4:20 in the morning, and I was surprised that you were. I was inside an hour later, typing out a report for space.com and other things, and up you popped on the screen from Facebook. And I said, my God, he's still awake. And for you, what, 3 or 4 in the morning? But I guess it was because, again, you weren't feeling good, or you
Yeah,
you,
no,
you weren't at your best.
my whole sleep pattern is totally thrown off. Yesterday, for example, I started spiking a fever around 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. So I'm laying on the couch, and all I want to do is go to bed. So if I go do that at 6 or 7 o'clock, then I'll sleep for about 5 hours, and then I'll wake up wide awake, feeling as if I've slept the whole night, when in reality I've only slept like a couple of hours or so. And I go out in the kitchen, I look at the clock, and it says 11:45 Eastern time, PM, and not AM the next day. So yeah, I had one of those nights where I just well Friday night, what happened was my um the antibiotic course of Augmentin that they had given me had finally kicked in. So I had spiked a fever to just about 103 at about 9:30 in the evening, and then my temperature dropped, like my body temp dropped like 2.5 degrees in 45 minutes. So I was down to like 100.5. It's like, oh, they felt so much better. But all that, up and down, back and forth temperature swings on your on my on your body just it takes its toll. Uh, you're either wide awake or you feel like you're dead to the world. Right now, I'm in one of those spots where I'm sort of half awake.
Well, we hope that your recovery continues. It sounds like we were talking to you before we came on that beforehand you must have been this must have been building inside of you for the last week or two, and
or a month or two. It's been over a month. It started that I physically started. I actually hadn't felt right for even going back to October. I kept complaining about the fact that I would, just feel like I was losing energy in the late afternoon and evening for some reason. If you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and you're over the age of 60, you start to think that, well, yeah, maybe you're tired because you got up at 4 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is. But yeah, all through the month, all through the month of November, there was stuff going on that I just didn't feel right. But I never thought to look at it. Never thought that appendicitis was the culprit here. So, all right, you are going kayaking, Mrs. Rayo, and you are not going kayaking, Joe Rayo. Because now you're on your next leg of your journey, which is you actually get to disembark in Antarctica.
The North Antarctic Peninsula, and we were saying that this morning everybody was rushing to one side of the ship as the captain was calling out that we were passing an iceberg. Now we passed a couple of them on Friday. In fact, one of them, I took a picture of Renata all bundled up on the deck, and it looked like a big square wall out behind her, out in the ocean. The one that we passed today, though, was anywhere from I don't remember if the captain said it was 4 to 6 or 5 to 8 miles long and about 300 meters high. I'll post a picture of this on Facebook a little later. But to me, quite honestly, Joe, when I was out there looking at this, I said to Renata, I said, I almost feel like I'm looking out across the Hudson at the Palisades. That's how big this damn thing was. And you could just imagine. And the captain, in broken English, he was talking basically in French, but he said, can you imagine the volume of water that is involved with that system? And this thing apparently just broke off Antarctica somewhere, and it's just floating, and it floated right past our ship. And we'll probably be seeing more of those in the days to come.
Oh God, I lost my train of thought. Oh, now I remember. So I posted. JJ must hold on. Oh, he sees a deer or something. So I posted your picture that you took of the.
JJ, look, JJ,
yes.
Deer. Look, deer, JJ.
Yay. So I posted your picture of the shot you had of the petrol that photobombed your shot, and the other ship that was in the background of the shot. And somebody with a sense of humor made a Titanic reference and said, "Is that the SS Carpathia?"
Well, I tell you that the Boreal, which is one of the was one of the ships that's owned by this company, Ponant. That ship is somewhat smaller than ours. And as we were watching it from the stern, from the front of the ship. we were watching that ship sail away to the north. They were going on a different track up into the totality path. You could see that the front of that ship, the stern, was diving down literally into the water and then coming back up again. And I'm saying, can you imagine being on the front of that ship? Because you literally would have been taken down into the water and coming back up. That ship really must have had a rock and roll time wherever they were going. But this ship is bigger. We're 30,000 tons. And when you compare that, Joe, to a lot of the cruise lines and cruise ships that are out there toting 3, 4, 5,000 people, a lot of those big ships now are on the order of 150 or 175,000 tons. So we're just a baby, 30,000 tons. But
Right.
this ship has been especially designed to go through the ice. It's kind of like a miniature icebreaker.
It is an icebreaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That it really is pretty cool. Now, you're approaching the last days of spring there, and the first days of summer. So the seasons being in reverse, of course, and this is also the mating seasons for all the wildlife there. So you should get some rather, you're probably going to get to see the penguins in action and the seals and the leopard seals anyway. So that's where you're going. I see on the map you're kind of zooming in there, correct?
Yes, it's a big cycle that they have up on one of the channels.
Yeah, they
so
have.
That gives you an idea now where we're at, and the waves are still significant. Oh, maybe yeah. Show them quickly what the waves are like. We are not allowed to open up our sliding doors; they lock them.
Sorry about the fact that you may see the raindrops, but in the rough period we had yesterday, the waves were so rough that they actually would crash up against the side of the ship and onto the windows, and that's why it hasn't rained here. It's just all that those raindrops or those drops, not raindrops, but splattering of water from the sea. And I don't know how well you can see the turbulence out there, but it's a heck of a lot more rough than if you were taking the Port Jeff ferry, Joe.
Oh. Yeah, that window shot kind of reminded me of my little adventure on the hydrofoil from Capri. After I had vomited 90 minutes straight on the way there.
Doesn't do it justice.
Yeah, that we're looking here on the delay, and Renata said the view doesn't do justice. Again, if we were outside, I could point the camera, further down, and you can actually see the rough surf or the rough waves on the side here. But again, we're confined here, not confined to our quarters completely, but we simply can't go out on the outside deck or the terrace, if you want.
Well, you don't want to be right. You don't want to be washed away. You don't want to be washed away into the Southern Ocean.
They went down. They opened, the doors, each balcony, and there's not a bad room on this whole ship. Every single room has a balcony. And it's not like Joseph was explaining. It's not like a huge cruise ship where there's inside rooms. It's only, I don't know, what is it, about 70 feet wide?
This gives you, I think this gives you an idea. Here's the bed.
Oh, nice room.
Further down, you could see off in the distance there. There's our doorway to go outside, and as we swing around here, there's the TV. We could watch movies on the TV, or we could actually watch here. They have MSNBC and Fox News, so we can get differing opinions from the political standpoint of it. And I just noticed. And I just noticed this morning, Joe, that on the laptop here, we were able to pull in CBS Sunday Morning with Jane Pauley.
Right.
And it was intermittent, but we were able to watch a piece that they ran about Lucy. I think this is the week that the Lucy movie is supposed to be released.
Yes,
and
being the Ricardos with Nicole Kidman playing Lucille Ball.
Right. Well, before we go, I'd be interested to know what the weather is like up back in the good old United States.
Well, we do have
how does it
actually,
look?
interestingly enough, you know, the gossip rooms in the weather world are posting maps of the GFS left and right, showing 10 to 20-inch snowfalls across southern New England, back into northern New Jersey and northeastern Pennsylvania for the middle of this coming week. And there are, you know, anytime, I've always said, even in the worst of patterns, you always get these little windows of opportunity, you know, we can call them windows of opportunity, where cold air tries to come in and it just kind of lines up just right with everything else that's going on in the atmosphere. And we have one of those opportunities, Joe. First of all, tomorrow we've got a cold front coming with a south-southwest flow ahead of it, and probably some showers and maybe even a thunderstorm late tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening. And then that front goes by, and a little cold high builds in the St. Lawrence Valley. You've got another little wave that develops and moves eastward, and the GFS has been very, very much amped up. And this is something I've said, you know, talked about over the last couple of days with respect to this system. It's too amped up on the GFS, and the other, virtually all of the other models are far less amped up, and I think that's I think where this is going. Maybe this winds up being a situation where somebody winds up with a slushy coating to maybe an inch or two. But you know, I'm just looking now at the new GFS, which is finally backed off. It went from, I'm literally, Joe, it went from giving like almost 20 inches in Boston. Now it only gives 2. And, you know, not that you and I are fans of the snow maps, we're not. But the bottom line is that this was a very, you know, this was way too amped up on the GFS model. The other models just not showing anything remotely close to this. So other than that, it's a relatively uneventful week. And by the way, even if it does wind up snowing on Wednesday, you're going to probably wind up seeing it washed away with the, you know, generally ridging in the east and troughing in the west.
Yeah, we were discussing before we left. I asked Renata. I said, "What do we do if there's like a 10 or 12 or an 18-inch snowfall?" And she looked at me with a blank stare and said, "So, what are we going to do?"
Yeah, you know what? You just
and
went.
it's true.
You've just been to Antarctica. You just, you know, you're on a boat where you're getting 60-knot winds, and you're worried about a lousy foot and a half of snow.
Well, first of all, I would be concerned if that foot and a half were to fall, let's say the day before we were supposed to come back, because we have a very long driveway, and you know, we try coming back, we will probably have to get dropped off at the end of the driveway, because no car usually can get up our driveway unless we're out there with our snowblower clearing it. So if it happens like within a day or two of when we're supposed to come back, I'd be worried. But if it does happen, if we get 15 inches of snow, let's say next Tuesday or Wednesday of this week, who cares? Because as you just mentioned, it probably will be gone by the time we're coming back. We'll be back on the 15th.
By the way, your sister,
the 15th.
Yeah, your sister 10 days from now. Your sister says, "No snow Wednesday. It's my birthday. I want to go out for dinner."
Yes, indeed. Yep. It is her birthday on Wednesday. Happy birthday! I just found out from my daughter. We'd made out cards for both my sister and her brother, her younger brother. And I asked my daughter. I said, "Now make sure you're going to mail this." And my daughter went off to Florida for the weekend, and she'll be back tomorrow. I said, "So did you mail the cards before you left?" He said, "No, I'll mail them tomorrow." And you know, of course, now with the way the mails are with Christmas cards and everything else, that even though she may mail it to my sister in the Bronx tomorrow, December the 6th, I doubt it's going to get there by December the 8th. So, Lisa, if you're watching, we did make out a card for you. We hope that it would get to you by Wednesday, but thanks to our daughter Maria, well, you may get a little late. You may get it before we may be home by the time you get it.
No.
Well, you don't know, Mr. DeJoy. You know, slow everything down.
Children.
Don't want to be political, Joe.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yes.
All right. So
anyway, we're supposed to be heading down. See, where we are, it's 1:30, and they are now serving lunch. And I want to get maybe more onion soup.
Oh, go ahead. All right. So go enjoy yourself. I'm going to do a little more weather here, and we'll we'll touch base tomorrow or the next day or whenever you feel up to it.
Well, as long as the internet holds out, like I said, it has been, Joe, it's been driving me crazy these last couple of days. The fact that it's in, especially the night before the eclipse, you know, you're trying to get satellite pictures, for example, on El Dorado, which provides the view of Antarctica, or even some of the, and they're very big, Joe. You know, it's maybe we ought to start using this on the air. Windy.com. That's all they use here. And all the Europeans love windy.com, which I think had its origins in the Czech Republic. And they love it. So maybe you might want to talk about that, or even maybe we could use spot weather from time to time.
Sure.
Because we've had to go into the meteorological tool chest and find something that would adhere to Antarctica. We can't use the NAM, the North American model down here.
No.
We can't use the GFS.
The NAM falls geographically short by just a handful of miles, unfortunately.
Yes.
All
right. So we'll try maybe tomorrow or Tuesday.
All right. Let's do that. All right. So we'll see you in the next day or two. Renata, enjoy your kayaking. Folks on the chat board and watching the show, hang on 1 second. I'm gonna do a little weather. I think I got enough energy to last another 15 minutes or so, and we'll take it from there. All right. Have a good one.
All right. Very good. And if we try this again next Sunday, maybe Scott Briller will come up with a special. Well, we've already done Antarctica Jeopardy.
Yes, we have.
So, Scott, maybe there's something that you can cook up for next Sunday with Joe and Joe.
All right. So we'll you go enjoy your lunch. We'll talk to you the next day or two.
Lunch is over at 2:00, so we still have a half hour.
All right, get going. Get going. All right, Joe Rayos just enjoying himself with everything that's going on with his trip, and he does look like he's happy he actually did do it, because when he was telling me about it before we even said anything on the air, he seemed a little bit out of sorts about it, but no matter. So I want to go back to what I was talking about with respect to this weather system here. And whenever we have, even in what I would describe as a horrible pattern for snow lovers, even in the worst of winters, you always wind up with these windows that open up for a few days where something could happen. And if you take a look here in terms of the upper air, and this is for this coming week, you have one such window. And if you think back over a couple of weeks ago, over the last couple of weeks, I should say. Hang on a second, folks. I'm trying to accidentally hit a button I should not have hit. So let's erase that. Okay. So if you think back to one of the couple of the shows over the last few weeks, is just sort of mentioning the fact that in a pattern like this, you look at the jet stream pattern, the upper air pattern, and you envision a situation where the northern jet gets a little bit stronger and overpowers the southern part of the jet stream, and that's pretty much what you're seeing this week. The problem is that, in terms of the GFS anyway, the problem is that the GFS has really just kind of overdone its vision of this northern stream shortwave. And if you look at this run, I'll go back 2 runs. Let's go back to the one of them from yesterday, just to give you a comparison. Let's go to the 12Z run from Saturday. So we'll go 24 hours ago. So if you look at the northern jet here on this particular run, you'll notice it extends much further to the south, down into almost down to the Gulf of Mexico there, into Louisiana, northeast Texas, northern Alabama, and Mississippi. And then the upper trough actually on a few runs before the last couple. I mean, you have almost a negatively tilted trough that's swinging up here into the eastern part of the U.S. That to me just seemed, I would just call that crazy overdone. And it's the reason why you saw the GFS do what it was doing, where it had this sort of amped up low, developing off the Delaware coast and then running up into the Gulf of Maine. So I argued that was just way overdone. And in fact, if we look at the view of today on today's run, it kind of gives you that it confirms the idea that the amped up view. Notice at the southern end of the trough doesn't, it was not nearly as sharp as you saw on the run from yesterday, going all the way down into northern Texas and northern Louisiana. It's much broader, not nearly as sharp, and even when it approaches the East Coast, it's not nearly as sharp. So I just think that it's too amped up. If I had to guess, maybe there'll be a band of a slushy coating to maybe somebody winds up with an inch or two from in a band, say from northeast western Maryland, northernmost Virginia, across Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey to southern New England, and then out. I just don't see this being any big problem. And none of the other models, by the way, are on that page. I'll just pull up a couple of them here. For example, if we look at the icon model, also when you look at the trough here on the icon model, it's very broad. It's nothing like what we saw from the GFS a couple of days ago. And then it just sort of moves along, just kind of slides there from west to east. And as far as the surface is concerned, for example, excuse me, this being the the new icon, and oftentimes the European winds up matching up with the icon model. And you'll notice here on this model, I mean, really doesn't show very much. I mean, it's got a low that forms off the North Carolina coast. It's got a little band of light snow there on the northern fringe of the precip shield. And then the low just kind of slides out to the northeast and goes goodbye. And goes goodbye. So I'm really not anticipating this becoming anything other than what it is. It's a weak system. Maybe it produces, as I said, a slushy coating to an inch or two in some places in the northern mid-Atlantic to southern New England. And even if that's the case, then it's all going to go away because the overall pattern in terms of the long range is just not really all that favorable, at least for now. So I'll widen out. We'll go to the North America view, and I'll put up the upper air here. So we'll start from 24 hours, which is Monday morning, and you'll see the kind of getting a little bit of a ridge there in the west and the general troughing in the east. It's an interruption to the idea of ridging in the eastern part of the United States and troughing in the west. And that's what you're seeing here. You see there's a fairly large trough that drops off the west coast around day 9, day 10, and pushes ridging up through much of the U.S. I mean, that's a very warm-looking upper air for this is now Tuesday the 14th. And you've got colder air up in Canada, but if you follow the flow, it is your air across Canada is moving from west to east. The air across the United States has a southern track to it, and that is also moving from west to east. And your cold air is all confined to central and northern Canada, and you wait for an opening that maybe down at somewhere in the longer range, it tries to drop southward. That is, you got to sit there and just be patient and wait for something to happen. In the meantime, I just backed up one run so that we at least we could take a look going forward, because the new run isn't out far enough. But you still have ridging in the east into the weekend before Christmas, and now here we are on Monday, December 20th. And interestingly enough, the trough in the west at this point starts to move inland into British Columbia. You also have higher than normal pressures building up in Greenland and Iceland out in the northern Atlantic. So there is a blockier look to things, let's say more of a negative NAO look to things as we go into the week before Christmas. The question is getting this western trough to continue to shift eastward. You're going to want some kind of vortex to eventually sort of find its way into Hudson Bay and maybe into southeastern Canada. The interesting thing to me is the fact that the flow in the Pacific has changed a bit, especially in and around the Aleutians, going from troughing there, and then the trough shifts eastward and is replaced by ridging. But we're going to probably have to wait till the last 10 days of the month here to see any kind of noticeable changes in the upper air pattern. The NAO, for what it's worth, is going strongly positive, moderate to strongly positive, just a few members on the 2 standard deviations above the mean there. Then they all, they start to get a little bit more, they start to drop a little bit toward the end of the forecast period, and that's that sign of that ridging that's building up in Greenland and out to Iceland. And the PNA, the Pacific North America Index, taking a look at that today, is now negative and is actually going to stay negative through the middle part of the month, and then starts to trend back toward the neutral line. So that, if we get that trough to come into the west and continue progressing eastward, that will allow some ridging to develop in the western part of the United States as we head to past, say, the 20th or 21st of December. I also just want to point out, at least from the standpoint of WPC, this is what their forecast outlook is on their winter weather outlook probability. This is from Wednesday into Thursday. So the forecast will change now. It'll go to the short range map, which is after 72 hours beginning tonight. So we'll see what we'll see tomorrow. What they're looking at here, at least from the old run. Now they seem to give maybe a little bit of credence to the over amped up GFS to an extent, but judging from today's run, I mean, it looks like it's really come off that over amped up look. So the dark green is a 30 to 50% chance of at least the equivalent of a quarter of an inch liquid equivalent of snow and sleet. So let's say roughly 2.5 inches, let's call it 2.5 inches of wet snow, between a 30 and a 50% chance for Wednesday into Thursday, covering northern New Jersey, the Hudson Valley, most of Connecticut except the immediate coast. And you can see the 10 to 30 goes down into northern Virginia and down into Maryland and even into southern New Jersey away from the coast. I tend to think, looking at what I've seen, that it might be a little bit overdone. We'll wait to see what some of the other models are going to tell us as we move forward later today, and we'll take it from there. But I feel pretty confident from what I've been seeing so far that my idea of this thing for Wednesday being just a little bit overdone. You're kind of straddling a very fine line here when it comes to this sort of stuff in a situation like this, because you need it to be strong enough in order to produce something in terms of precip, or let's call it precipitation amounts of quality. But if it's too strong, then you wind up pumping the ridge up and you bring rain up through all of the coastal plain, and it becomes something for, say, I-90 and points north. On the other hand, if the north is too overwhelming and overpowers everything, then you wind up with a much weaker system where you start to deal with the possibility that you're going to have very little in the way of precipitation out of this. So I'm not particularly excited over it from what I'm seeing. By the way, Pivotal Weather has just added the 6 and 18Z Europeans to its subscription platform, and I'm on that. So hopefully this week we'll be able to take a look at that and use it. I can tell you from what I looked at on the overnight, I'll bring it up here on the 6Z run of the European. It was not really, it didn't really impress me. Let's put it that way. But you can take a look here again. This is from Pivotal Weather. You see the front moving through. Even the front for later tomorrow doesn't really look all that impressive. We get into some cold air from Tuesday into Wednesday. High builds up into northern New England. And then on the old frontal boundary, you start to get a weak wave. This is Wednesday at 18Z. And you'll see that low that's off the North Carolina coast. A little bit of snow there up in northern Virginia to Pennsylvania and northern New Jersey. Doesn't really look like it's anything to write home about because it's mostly light stuff. And then the low on the last frame, because it only goes out 90 hours on this run. East of North Carolina, already the precip shield has shifted into southeastern New England. So again, I'm not excited. I'm not impressed. And let's see, I just want to really quick, I'm just like always, the European snow maps for what they're worth. I'm still just kind of maneuvering my way through all this. So let's see, regional. Okay, come on. Really? Let's see what they have to say here. My expectation is it's not going to be showing very much. And yeah, I mean, look at this, folks. This is from the European, from the overnight. We're talking fractional amounts here. Again, big yawn as far as I'm concerned. I'm really not going to expect to see this change very much over the next couple of days, particularly if the fact that the GFS was going to. I thought it already had hung on too long to that amped up look anyhow. So that's how I'm seeing it at this point. All right, folks, I'm gonna bring an end to this because I'm kind of getting tired. And for Patreon members, I'll be putting some stuff up as we go through this afternoon as my energy level comes and goes. So hopefully I'll have enough energy that I'll be able to do a few things. So look for there. Maybe I'll even do a weather in 10 video. So thanks for being here on this Sunday. Hope your weekend was a good one, and hope your week ahead is a good one. I just want to get better, and it's a very, very slow. Abdominal surgery is difficult, and this recovery period is very slow, especially since I've been pretty much sick for the last month plus with this infection. So it's just taking. I have to be patient and just give it time. Oh, all right. Have a great day. And we'll see you. I'm guessing we'll probably wind up doing a show tomorrow. If Joe's not around, I'll do a solo show. Okay. So have a great day. Have a great Sunday.